Now for this video, we're going to be looking at solving equations with two absolute values. So if absolute values of two algebraic expressions are equal, then they must either be equal to each other or opposite of each other. So for example, if I have the absolute value of ax plus b is equal to the absolute value of cx plus d, I'm going to create two different equations. First, I'm going to have them where they're equal to each other, so I'm just going to drop the absolute values and have them equal. Or I'm going to have ax plus b on the left-hand side be the same, and I'm going to take the opposite sign of cx plus d, so that means I'm going to make the whole thing negative. The important thing to note here is I have to put parentheses around my cx plus d because I want the opposite of both terms. So that means that this is really going to be the same thing as ax plus b is equal to negative cx minus d. So let's go through a couple of examples. So first I have the absolute value of 3x minus 4 is equal to the absolute value of x. So I have two absolute values, so that means that I'm going to have them be equal to each other for the first equation. I'm going to drop the absolute values and have them equal to each other. Or they're going to be opposite of each other. So I'm going to have 3x minus 4 is equal to the opposite sign of x. So that would be negative x. And then from here I can also subtract 3x from both sides. I have negative 4 is equal to negative 2x. So my first answer, I get 2 equals x. Next one, subtract 3x from both sides. And I have negative 4 is equal to negative 4x. And then divide both sides by negative 4. So my two answers for this one are x is going to equal to 1 or 2. Okay, let's try one that's a little bit more difficult. So I have the absolute value of 4x minus 10 is equal to 2 times the absolute value of 3x plus 1. And so I know from my instructions that they first can be equal to each other. So I have 4x minus 10 is equal to 2 times 3x plus 1. Or they can be opposite signs of each other. So I can have 4x minus 10 is equal to 2 times this 3x plus 1, the absolute value, since I know from my property absolute value that it can either be positive in there or it can be negative. So that means this could be a negative 3x plus 1. Okay, so let's first start with solving this first equation. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute my 2. And so I have 4x minus 10 is equal to 6x plus 2. I want to get my x's by itself, so I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. Subtract 2. And then divide by 2, so I get negative 6 is equal to x. And here I have a little bit more going on, so I have 4x minus 10 is equal to, I need to distribute that negative. So I have 2 times negative 3x minus 1. And then I'm going to go ahead and distribute that 2. So I have 4x minus 10 is equal to negative 6x minus 2. Add 6x to both sides. And I get 10x minus 10 is equal to negative 2. And then divide both sides by 10. So I have 8/10 on this side, and if I reduce that, that is going to be the same thing as 4/5. So my two answers are x equals -6 and 4/5.